The devastating second wave of COVID 19 witnessed communities stand strong together in the face of all odds. When times were tough and our health infrastructure was overburdened, multiple people took on the role of providers and caregivers to help those in need. One such team emerged from a residential block in Gurgaon, Haryana. A key member of the team, Neera Kapoor, helped residents access everything they needed during their COVID journey: food, oxygen, medical supplies, and hospital beds. The team procured all essentials that were needed by COVID positive residents in the colony. The team also set up isolation rooms in a nearby hotel to help COVID positive patients isolate away from their families. An on call doctor was also arranged by the team to provide online consultancy to residents recovering from COVID 19 at their homes. NewsX proudly recognizes second wave superhero Neera Kapoor and her team.
Neera, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast and a very warm welcome to NewsX.
Hi, Paridhi. Good morning. Thank you for calling me here, and I'll be happy to share my thoughts on the topic questions that you ask.
All right. Neera, firstly, if you could just quickly help me by explaining to us what exactly your initiative was and how is it that you started helping people? What was the tipping point that made you say, you know what, we've had enough and I need to step in now?
Okay. So initially, when during the second wave of coronavirus, we had a contractor in our society who became C positive and he was in need of a hospital bed. So a message was flashed on the group that a person named Rajat, who has been a contractor in our society since the last 20 years. And I think every resident of our society has got his or her home built from him. So at that time, they wanted a few of the people who were, doing this initiative, they wanted contribution from the residents. And that's when I pitched in. And because, there were so many cases happening all over India. There was paucity of beds. People were, scrambling here and there to get either oxygen. And the second wave was actually very bad. That's the time when there were 2 or 3 people in our society when I joined hands with them and I said, okay, I'll be also a part of this initiative and try to help people who are suffering the second wave of coronavirus. And that's how, everything started. So initially we helped one person, but then when, we started taking baby steps and of course, bigger steps forward, then we thought of building a COVID warrior team of about 5 to 6 people, wherein we build an agenda and we wanted people of our society to know that if initial care is taken when a person is tested positive, then we could avoid hospitalization. And that is how we drew a flow chart on what all things need to be done so that the residents are safe and, we used to touch base with the residents on daily basis to check on whether they need anything or if anyone is having fever. So we would, tell them to consult a doctor. So we had medicines, we bought medicines, had a repository of medicines. Then we took 2 doctors on board so that if any resident feels uncomfortable or has fever, they could do an online consultation, a video consultation, or a general telephonic call with the doctor. We started procuring oxygen cylinders. Of course, we have 2. We did not hoard them, which was illegal. So getting oxygen cylinders was again a very huge task. But a big thanks to my team members who, with umpteen number of
How difficult was it, Neera? Sorry for interrupting. If you could just help us understand, medicines, oxygen, beds. There was absolutely no way to go out there, make a phone call and say, you know what, I need an oxygen cylinder. It was just impossible. How exactly did you guys navigate through, that sea of requests and that sea of people clamoring for these, basic amenities?
It was really very difficult, but thanks to, as all of us as a team, we really, procured oxygen from the factory where the oxygen cylinders were, the oxygen cylinders were being filled up. So we hired a driver, we hired a taxi driver who was reliable. We gave him the cylinders and we told him to get him filled up. The person was there for the entire day to get 2 cylinders filled up. It was such a gargantuan task, getting cylinders fixed and buying oxygen, which is naturally available. I mean, but we wanted to make sure that if any of our residents is in need of oxygen at night, then we should have those cylinders with us. And fortunately or unfortunately, those cylinders were used by one of the residents. And, that gave us satisfaction. Okay, we did a lot of hard work in procuring that, and at least we were able to save someone's life. Getting medicines, yes, it was difficult, but we touched base with a wholesale dealer, and he was very nice. We just gave him a list of medicines, and he got all the medicines home delivered. And now we have a good, collection of all the basic medicines which are required for COVID-19.
All right. Neera, if you can also help me understand, of course, now societies have multiple people. There are different families. In fact, if let's say somebody in a family turns COVID positive and they're in need of, isolation, not all houses have, the luxury of having 3 rooms or 4 rooms. Was there a certain isolation center or like an isolation ward that you tried to create? And did you face any red tapeism? Because from our conversation earlier, I did understand that you were not able to go ahead and set that up. What were the challenges that you faced?
Okay, red tapeism, no, for sure. Yes, the challenge that we faced for setting up the isolation center was the society wherein we live. It does not have a common community center or a common community hall or a clubhouse, as you can say, where the quarantine facilities could be set up. And as per the ministry guidelines, the isolation centers should have a separate entry or an exit. It should have proper ventilation. Then we need to have proper staff, then disposal of biomedical waste. And, there are a couple of things which had to be adhered to if we follow the guidelines of the ministry. And that was the reason we were not able to set up a quarantine center within the society. But yes, we did have a word with a couple of guest houses, which are a few meters away from our society. And we did tie up with them so that in case someone needs an isolation facility, we are able to shift that person to the guest house at a reasonable cost. I completely agree with you that because of paucity of space, everyone is not able to quarantine at home.
Correct. All right. Neera, now, a sad reality that the second wave has gotten to light has in fact, etched in stone is that we're going to lose some and we're going to save some. It's just the sad reality of things at this point. While helping people, I'm sure you also made emotional connections with them. How difficult has it been, to lose people that you were helping and, that you were trying to save?
It's very, disheartening when you lose someone, especially when we lost the first person we tried to help. We lost him. He was not able to survive COVID. It was really very difficult. And but that also motivated us that we should help the other people. And that was a stepping stone, wherein we pitched in to help all the residents. And a small incident wherein there is a family in our society, we are helping them. I mean, every day I text that lady, morning, afternoon, evening, though I have never talked to her in the last 15 years. But, just that little emotional connect that the entire family is down with COVID-19. Their child is sick with blood cancer and he's staying alone. I mean, that really hurt me very emotionally. And I went out of the way to help that family, to give them emotional support, kind of physical support required, whether getting them the delivery of medicines or food. In fact, even I sent them home cooked food from my home so that they were able to get nutritious food. And day in, day out, every day I give them at least 5 calls just to motivate them, everything would be fine, everything will be fine. You will have to, this phase will pass soon. I mean, that family is in my thoughts throughout the day. I discuss it with my own family members. I discuss it with my friends. And you have an emotional connect once you start helping an outsider, I think.
People. Yeah.
But it gives me satisfaction when I help people out.
All right, Neera, now it of course takes a certain sense of empathy, a certain sense of sensitivity and psychological willpower to be able to do what you're doing. And kudos to you, Neera. More power to you. Go ahead, help as many people as you can. And we right here on NewsX want to thank you on behalf of all the people that you've helped, and in fact on behalf of all of India. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks for calling me on the show. Thanks.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.